As dramatic as the meeting with Paul McCartney was, it was another encounter that would radically change John Lennon's outlook on life. It was 1966 at a gallery in London. John was about to meet a young artist named Yoko Ono, and he would also be coming to terms with her unusual artworks, something for which his boyhood years in Liverpool had not prepared him.
It was sort of 1966, and I got a call from a guy called John Dunbar, who used to be married to Marion Faithfull. You know, everybody's connected. And he had a gallery in London called Indica Gallery, an art gallery. And I used to go there occasionally to see whatever art show was on, you see. And he said, oh, I've got this, there's this fantastic Japanese girl coming from New York, and she's going to do this other thing, but she's also going to put on an exhibition at my gallery. And it's going to be this big event, and something about black bags, and I thought, ooh, orgies, you know. You know, these artists, they're all ravers. You know, it was in the days of happenings and paint and all that stuff, right? So, I go right down there, you know, for the opening, goody, you know, goes down, see what's happening. I get down there, and it's the night before the opening. I thought there was going to be a big party and an opening and the whole bit, you know, a big I didn't want to get involved, I wanted to watch, you know. I get there, it's all white and quiet, and there's just these strange things all on display, like an apple on a stand for £200, when the pound was worth $8 or something, or whatever. And there's hammers and saying hammer and nail, all this very peculiar stuff, and a ladder with a painting on the sky. Or it looked like a blank canvas on the ceiling with a spyglass hanging from it. So I'm looking around, and there doesn't seem to be many people. There's a couple of people downstairs, and I didn't know who was who. So I get up the ladder, and I look through this spyglass, and it said yes. And I took that as a personal positive message, because most of the avant-garde artists of that period were all negative, you know, like break a piano with an axe. It was mainly male. I'm looking at the female here. It was mainly male art, and it was all destructive and, you know. But here was this little crazy message on the ceiling. And then the guy introduced me to her, and she didn't know who the hell I was. She had no idea. You know? She was living in a different environment altogether. And I was saying, well, I thought, this is a good con, isn't it? Apples for £200 and hammer and nail. Who's going to buy this, you know? I didn't know what concept art was, which in a nutshell is the idea is more important than the object. So that's why you won't see many rich concept artists around, because you can't really, you know, like the guy that wraps up what's the guy that wraps up Christo wraps up things. Well, he doesn't expect you to buy the canvas. What he's doing is selling you this idea, whatever it is he's projecting. It was the same kind of thing, but I hadn't come across it before. What's the matter? You sell a nail and a hammer, you know. So anyway, I said, the gallery owner was all fussing around. He was thinking, is he going to buy something? And she's ignoring me, you know. So he introduced us, and I said, well, where's the event, you know, where's the happening? Because I'd seen the bag. So she just takes a card out and gives it to me and just says, breathe. So I said, you mean that? She said, you got it. I said, all right, I'm beginning to catch on here. So I see the hammer hanging on the thing with a few nails underneath. I said, well, can I at least hammer a nail in? You know, I've come all the way from the suburbs for this. And she says, no. So anyway, the gallery owner has a little word with her, and she comes over and she says, all right, there's no smiling or anything, because you know how she is. She's not running for office. She never was, so she looks at me and she says, you give me 5 shillings. Give me 5 shillings and you can hammer a nail in. So I looked at her and I said, I'll give you an imaginary 5 shillings and hammer an imaginary nail in, okay? And that's when we connected really, and we looked at each other like, you know, that sort of, something went on. Well, I didn't see her again for a few weeks. We went to a Klaus Oldenburg opening, and I went with Paul, and I don't know who she was with, but I got separated from Paul, and I felt this sort of vibe behind me. And I looked round, and there she was, you know. And we were both very shy, believe it or not, and I don't know what I said. We said something. We didn't really get together till 18 months later. We didn't make love till 2 years. We knew, you think we're rock and rollers, you know, all the life that people lead. I really, really needed to be with her, wanted to be with her, and could not literally survive without her as a functioning human being. I just went to pieces, and I didn't realize that I needed her so much. I needed her more than she needed me, and I always thought the boot was on the other foot. You know, and that's as honest as I can get. And the image is always, because the pop star, and Burt Reynolds said it, and God bless him, that the women have always kicked him out. And Yoko kicked me out. I didn't go off on I'm going to be a rock and roll bachelor. She literally said, get out. And I said, okay, I'm going. I'm a bachelor free. I'd been married all my life. I'd been married before Yoko, and I immediately married Yoko, so I'd never been a bachelor since I was 20 or something. So I thought, it was god-awful. And the other thing I want to say about Burt Reynolds, Barbara Walters asked him, what do you want to be remembered as? And he said, the best father that ever was, yeah. And I thought, thank God, I began to feel maybe I'm the only father that's interested in relating, and is it going to become, John Lennon's now selling this family business, and he's been through peace and love, and now he's coming on like daddy, and all that, and I'm only talking about it because that's what I've done, and that's how I feel, and admitting that it is that I'm more feminist now than I was when I sang Woman is the Nigger. I was intellectually a feminist then, but now I feel as though at least I've put my body where my mouth was and tried to really live up to my own preachings, as it were. And to see somebody like Burt Reynolds, who is the world's #1 male star over all the pop stars worldwide, to have the guts to say he wants to be known as a father, I thought, oh, great, I'm not going to be alone on this one.
Almost from the start, John and Yoko experimented with sound as art, staying up all night, howling and making strange noises into a tape recorder. The resulting collage of unusual sounds went into an album called Two Virgins. Some of the recording techniques they used, as well as public reaction to the nude photos on the cover of that album, are what we hear next.
I used to have a place where I worked in the house again, upstairs, in my first incarnation with my other wife and kid. And I used to make kind of freaky music at home. And you would hear it coming through on things like Tomorrow Never Knows on Revolver, or Rain and some little backwards things, but I never made that the whole track. I would take the sort of most usable and add it to the Beatles, or to my tracks of the Beatles, or the Walrus, the Strawberries, or whatever, fiddle around a bit, or put loops, or, something funny. But at home, I was really far out, and I had a kind of little studio, which was really just a lot of tape recorders, and we made two versions that way. She came over for a date, as it were, and I didn't know what to do, and she didn't know what to do. I said, I didn't know what to do with her, so I said, you want to go upstairs and play with the tapes? So, because we didn't know what to do, we did play with the tapes all night. And we made two virgins, and I was showing her all my different tape recordings and how I made the funny sound.
You were running around.
I was running around pushing buttons and playing the Mellotron, and she started into her Yoko Ono stuff, which is now stuff you hear on B-52s with Lenny Lovitch and all that stuff. She started doing this, and all that, and I thought, this is great. And I was going on the tapes, and she was going, and we made a tape all night, and in the morning we made love as the sun came up. But we'd made this album's worth of sound together without consciously setting out to make something. And that was the first togetherness. And we shot the cover ourselves privately, and it wasn't, we just got somebody to set the camera up, took the shot, and put out Two Virgins. That was the start of the whole shebang. What are they doing? This Japanese witch has made him crazy, and he's gone bananas. But all she did was take the bananas part of me out of the closet more, that had been inhibited by the other part. It was a complete relief to meet somebody else who was as far out as I was, that was the real thing. Well, now we'd like to have a commercial success, but when we made Two Virgins, we weren't worried about commercial. We just wanted to put out a statement of where it was at. We wanted to share the thing. Some people accepted it, and a lot of people didn't, but the thing had an effect. The fact that, an Elvis Presley would take his clothes off and expose... Now, we had other shots for that cover, which made us look a lot more sexy and attractive. Believe me, if you pose a certain way and you just do it like this...
Better.
And there were a couple more shots that later came out in the calendar with the Live Peace in Toronto album, where we look a little more attractive as a couple in a star kind of way. But we deliberately chose the one where we were standing there, in all our glory, like a little flab around the waist, the legs a little, nothing pretty about it. We wanted to say, we met, we're in love, we want to share it. And it was a kind of statement as well of an awakening for me too, This Beatle thing that you've heard all about, this is how I am really. This is me naked with the woman I love. You want to share it? And people did and people didn't, but now you can't get it for $200, 2 versions, right? So that's the way it goes.
As John and Yoko worked together, loved together, and eventually married, the influence of their individual artistic abilities began to meld. Yoko got more into music. John experimented with film and painting. Overtones of politics became more recognizable in their works. As the turbulent 60s became more uncertain, themes such as Give Peace a Chance became national anthems for Vietnam protesters. Recorded during their first bed-in 1969 in a hotel room in Montreal, John and Yoko were determined to focus attention on themselves and thus on making love rather than war. It was also the debut record for the Plastic Ono Band. Here, John and Yoko discuss the interrelation of art, politics, communication, and love as it applied to those turbulent years.
Some of the ideas that she wanted both of us to do then, I must say I was more square then than I am now in a way, that I wish we'd done because now other people have done them and I would say, no, I'm not going to do it. Are you kidding? I'm not doing that. I would start reserving, I don't want to do that, We're in enough trouble as it is, let's not do that. That was banned, Woman is the Nigger of the World, because of the word nigger. Now, I had Ebony and Jet both say they are not offended, and we went down there with Dick Gregory, and just in case there were any questions there. And the statement, Woman is the Nigger of the World, was made by Yoko in 1967 or 8 to an English woman's magazine called Nova, which was a kind of Vogue. And she was on the cover, and the title was Woman is the Nigger of the World. I immediately stole the title and wrote a song. It didn't come out till 71. And there was all this hullabaloo about the word nigger, but the hullabaloo was from the white community, not from the black community. Schoenberg and Weyburn, she'd studied at Sarah Lawrence and all that. I didn't know any of that stuff, and she was turning me on to it. Even Bertolt Brecht. I knew when we did sometime New York City, to me we were doing a newspaper. So one would rush it out into print, you see. So there were mistakes, say a little harmony wasn't perfect. We didn't go back and perfect every note. We just printed it out, and sometimes there's words missing or something like that. And it was later that she said, well, you know what we did there? I said, no, we got into a lot of trouble, that's all I know. And, the harmony's funny or something, Because we had her idea again. She had Chairman Mao and Richard Nixon dancing naked on the cover. It wasn't really their bodies, we just stuck their heads on. Well, the record company stuck a label on it in the supermarkets, and you couldn't even get it off when you went home, And there was no genitals, nothing on it. But anyway, and I started getting down about that record thing. It was a mistake. Even though we tried to say something about women, we tried to say something about love and peace or whatever, the war, that, we got into so much trouble. So she then took me to see Richard Foreman's production of the Threepenny Opera of Bertolt Brecht, which I don't know when it was originally out, in the 20s or 30s. I said, oh, I see, so we're not alone, I don't know what happened to Brecht when he first put that out, but it was the same idea, meaning, to make a statement on the society right now, right away, and no BS. Just say it, I think this is wrong, that's right, this is my opinion. Communicate is the thing. It's that need to communicate. Politics was in the air those days, come on, you couldn't avoid it, right? And being artists, when we get into something, we get into it, you know what I mean? We want it to be right there, down on the front lines, but as we always said to everybody, with flowers, but still right down there, we want to go all the way with it. And I think we did go all the way with it too, our intentions were good. Not only the fact that we got together and boom, it was like an explosion, but there was also the Beatle thing about us getting together and whether they split because of us or not, or whatever the reason, all that stuff.